Hi there, and welcome to Lacrosse. My name is John, and I'll be your coach for this series. I'll be taking you through all the ins and outs of this exciting game called lacrosse. Our show is for lacrosse lovers of all ages and skill levels. We'll have something for everyone. But first, let me introduce you to my assistant coach, James.
Hi, John.
Hey, James. He'll be doing most of the drills that I'll be teaching.
Hey, guys. I'll be helping teach you the ins and outs of lacrosse. So what's on for today's session, Coach? I can't wait to hit the floor.
Because this is our first session, we'll be starting with what are known as fundamentals. Fundamentals are the basic skills you'll need in lacrosse.
The ones you need before shooting, right, Coach?
Exactly. These are the skills you should learn even before shooting. Holding your stick, your body positioning, cradling, and switching hands. So let's get out there, James, and show how it's done.
Sounds good. Hi, this is James. In this segment, I'm going to show you warm-up drills that are designed to prepare you for competition and practices. These drills are designed to activate the nervous system and warm up your muscles to help prevent injuries. Today's warm-up drill is called high knees. In the high knees drill, run forward and with each stride bring the knee up to the chest. Move the arms as if you were running, with the opposite arm moving with the opposite leg. This drill will help with coordination and focus on warming up the hip flexors.
Traditional. The traditional lacrosse games, played hundreds and thousands of years ago, were often played by hundreds and sometimes thousands of players against each other at the same time.
I'm glad to see you decided to join me for a few lessons. The stick is your main tool as a lacrosse player. Today, I'll teach you a few tips on how to use this tool. To start off, I figured it would be appropriate to start with two things that are often overlooked by coaches: how you should be holding your stick and basic body position. Let's take a look. My assistant coach has already headed down to the floor to start practice. Oftentimes, players can pick up a stick and just head out and play. It's a good thing to just do what comes naturally, but you should also try and use proper technique. To show you the right way to grip a stick, let's take a look at these players in action. Players should be holding the stick snugly but loosely to allow maximum movement. If you want to test your movements, hold your stick in front of you. By wiggling your wrists up and down and rotating them or turning them, players can see how tightly they should be holding their stick. To facilitate movement, you might want to hold your stick more with your fingers and less with your palms. Now that you've got the grip down pat, we'll move on to the next important thing, which is hand placement. The bottom hand should be at the butt end of the stick. Some players like to make a bump at the bottom end so their hand doesn't slide off the shaft. The top hand should rest somewhere at midpoint. Again, go with what feels comfortable. You can practice placing your hands here and there, but the only way to get a good idea of how to hold your stick is from playing. By tossing the ball back and forth, you can really see how your hand positioning is. Beginner players might want to place their top hand towards the top of the shaft when catching. High hand placement will allow you to get a better feel for the ball when catching. When it comes to passing or shooting, you can slide your hand back down. Lastly, my assistant coach is going to test the player's hand positioning and grip by tapping their stick with his own stick. This simulates what happens during a game. As you can see, these guys have good hand positioning and there are no flaws in their technique. In a fast game like lacrosse, you're always moving and it's kind of hard to teach specific body positioning. In different situations, you're required to move certain ways. Let me show you. I call this drill one-on-one keep away. One player will be the offensive player and the other will be the defensive player. The drill should be timed and should last 10 seconds. The purpose of the drill is to have the offensive player maintain control of the ball while the defensive player attempts to make him drop the ball. This drill should be performed in a small area, let's say in a 3 squared metered area. In order to be successful at this drill, the player should bend his knees so that his center of gravity is as low as possible. By bending your knees, you can absorb more of the body contact your opponent gives you. Bending your knees also allows you to back into your opponent if needed. Bending your knees can allow you to move quicker when running the floor. It can allow you to protect the ball, it can allow you to defend your position, and it can allow you to fake out an opponent. Hand positioning and body positioning are two things that can be taken for granted sometimes. Both are equally important and are good building blocks for any player's game. This week's topic is the 30-second clock. The game of lacrosse is played with a 30-second clock. Whenever a team is in possession of the ball, they have 30 seconds to take a shot on the opposing net. If they can't manage to hit the net, they automatically lose possession of the ball. If the offensive team loses control of the ball but recovers it, the 30-second clock will continue to run. It will not reset. The 30-second clock will only be reset whenever a shot hits the goalie or the goal post or crossbar, or when the defending team gains possession of the ball. This clock helps the game flow and promotes a faster-paced game. When on the attack, always keep an eye on the clock.
More to come after the break. The main component of a player's equipment is his stick. The stick was the only piece of equipment required when the game was played long ago. The same applies today, however, the technology has helped in making the stick way more advanced. The stick is made up of two main elements, the head and the shaft, both equally important. When it comes to shafts, aluminum, carbon composite, graphite, titanium, scandium, and zirconium are all being used. The material must be resistant and lightweight to facilitate maneuvering and improve shooting velocity. When buying a shaft, a player should consider the feel of the shaft when it's in his hands. Shafts can be thick or thin, round or square. Your selection must be made taking into consideration what your own preferences are. A player who executes many stick maneuvers might prefer a rounded shaft as opposed to a defensive player who will be required to hold his stick in a defensive position more frequently. A player must also consider the length of the shaft when purchasing a stick. An attacking player will want to use a shorter stick, roughly 30 inches, so he can maneuver easily in tight spaces. A defensive player will want a longer stick so he can use his greater reach when defending. Testing different sticks is the best way for any player to find the right fit.
Hello again. One of the most important skills in lacrosse is how you cradle the ball. We're going to show you some good tips today to make cradling one of the best parts of your game. Cradling is a technique used to keep the ball in the head of your stick. If you don't cradle while carrying the ball, chances are you'll drop it. The key to cradling is to protect the stick and the ball with your body. Cradling can be broken down into 3 different techniques. The small cradle is used when running up the floor with the ball, looking to pass or getting ready to shoot. The medium cradle is used when standing still with the ball looking to pass or getting ready to shoot again. The large cradle is used while getting checked. As you can see, this drill should help you practice all 3 techniques. The guys will now stand in the same spot and perform different cradling techniques. A lot of players tend to look at the ball as they're cradling it. Cradling is done so you don't have to look at the ball. You should be looking at your teammates and what's going on the field. When cradling, your wrists and your grip need to be loose. You'll need to be able to rotate your wrists freely and without restraint. On your own time, you can also try the one-handed cradle. This is a good skill to learn. It's one thing to cradle when you're not moving, but doing it while you're running can be a whole different story. The players have been instructed that they must use the small cradling technique as they run the first leg of the course. And they must use this medium technique for the second leg. To finish off the course, they must use the large cradling technique. Players must focus on a few things during this drill in order for it to be done right. Never look at the ball when cradling. You should be looking at what's going on around you. Secondly, never compromise your speed. And lastly, be aware of your head position. Make sure that the basket is upright so the ball has less of a chance of popping out. On your own time, you can also try the one-handed cradle. This is a good skill to learn. Now for the last part of this cradle exercise, we will simulate defensive pressure on the cradler. For the second part, the players will set up one-on-one in close proximity. The offensive player must protect the ball from the defensive player. This is similar to the body positioning drill we have already done. In order to be successful, the offensive player will need to combine his body positioning skills and his cradling skills. When being checked, a player should use the large cradling technique. The secret in being a great cradler lies in the movement you create with your wrists. The offensive player must be in control of the ball for 10 seconds. When being checked, use your body to distance your stick and the opponent. Combine this with large cradling and you'll make it hard for opponents to jar the ball loose. Like anything else, cradling takes time and practice to master. Cradling is the most important skill for any player. When waiting for practice to start, or even on your own time, you can always spend a few minutes cradling at home.
National. Lacrosse is Canada's national sport of summer, and hockey is Canada's national winter sport. Before 1994, lacrosse was the only national sport in Canada.
See you next week. Good game. Hey there. I just finished playing a game of lacrosse. I don't get to play as much as I would like anymore. Years ago, when my legs were faster and stronger, I was a good scorer. I still love to play our game, but I really enjoy watching it played by you younger people. In the old days, elders would often oversee big games. They were almost like referees. First Nations people played lacrosse not only for fun, but as a sacred ritual as well. We played lacrosse to resolve conflicts or disagreements. Sometimes it was between families. Other times it could be between communities. It was played to show respect to the Creator and to thank Him for all the good things He had given us. It was said lacrosse also had healing powers. When you played it, you felt better. So you see, lacrosse was much more than a game or sport. Now that doesn't mean it's not important today. It still is. When playing lacrosse, keep in mind its origins and its histories are centuries old. Play it to show respect to our past as well as the Creator. We thank our elders for this wonderful game.
After the break, we've got another one of the coach's great drills for you.
This week's warm-up drill is called forward crossovers. To do the forward crossover drill, you will run forward while swinging one leg in front of the other. Make sure the knees are kept straight and you swing the leg over from the hip. This will help with coordination as well as warming up the muscles on the sides of the hips. I hope you players and coaches learned a valuable tip to help prepare you to play at your best when you're on the floor. To avoid injuries, do a variety of warm-up drills to ensure that all muscles are warmed up and ready to go. Until next week, have fun and play hard.
2. Some of the southern First Nations in the United States played lacrosse using 2 sticks at a time. Both sticks were used like a claw to scoop the ball.
Hey there. For the last drill of today's show, you'll be looking at another basic skill that is extremely useful at whatever level you're competing. For the drill, the focus will be on switching hands. By switching hands, I mean cradling, shooting, and passing. The drill will start when my assistant will pass the ball to another player. He will then try and make a move on player 2 so he can shoot at the net. Player 2 should force player 1 to attempt to make his move to either the right or left side by pressuring him with his body and also by covering him with his stick. This defensive pressure should force player 1 to switch hands until he feels that he can make his move to the net and fire a shot. Protect the ball at all times. You should be keeping your body between your stick and your opponent. You can turn your shoulder into your opponent while keeping your stick on the opposite shoulder. Secondly, remember that you are looking to pass, shoot, or make a move. Your eyes should be scanning the floor and not your stick. And the last thing you can focus on is try to work on being able to maneuver your stick in a full 360-degree radius, using both your right hand as the top hand and then your left hand as the top hand. Well guys, I think we can still spend a bit more time doing this drill, but this time I want a little more intensity. Practicing this drill in a quick-paced situation goes a long way in regards to game preparation.
Good shot. Good work, boys. Well, I hope you learned a few things during today's session.
The basic fundamentals are a good starting point for young lacrosse players of all ages. Some are taken for granted and never taught.
So try practicing what you've learned today on your own to gain more control of your stick.
Well, that's it for today's practice, boys. Come on in, guys. Come on in, guys. We'll see you all next week.